All right. Hey, everybody. How's it going?
Hey,
Hello, hello.
So we're just doing an open table discussion today so people can bring up whatever they want to bring up. So I guess
wonderful.
you guys want to introduce yourselves. Mom, you want to start?
Sure, sure. Well, thanks for being our host today, Brian, there in Vietnam. I'm in Spokane, Washington, and on a phone. So things are a little different. I've stacked up books and put my phone on top of it. So, but phones are so, I mean, I've been doing business for a week here in Spokane just on my phone. It's amazing. I'm always surprised about, oh, I could do this. Oh, I could do that. So, yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm here in the West Coast time zone, so it's early morning for me. But yeah, I'm happy to be
Mm.
joining the roundtable. So great to see you.
Great to see you as well. Maddie, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello everybody. My name is Matthew Waller, affectionately known as Matty by everyone that knows me. I'm a shaman coming from the UK. Um, I specialize in quite a lot of different things, light language, ritual, ceremony, anything esoteric and spiritual. I'm a healer, a teacher, um, and a few other things. And yeah, and I'm just happy to be here and with an open table. And we were talking about extraterrestrials just before we
Yeah.
went live, so this should be interesting. It's kind of
Yeah, you know what? That's a great topic. I say we do aliens. Let's do aliens.
Okay, okay, good. Well, Brian, tell us
So,
about you and where you are, and we'll get started.
okay, I'm in Vietnam and co-founder of Life Design with my mom here.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I teach people Sedona method, which is a very quick way to release emotions that you might be stuck on. And yeah, I can also teach people like kind of beginning manifestation. I manifested a bunch of stuff. So,
Hmm.
um,
Cool.
but who cares about that? Let's talk about aliens.
Well, it's so funny, Brian, we at a Life Design, this platform and with all the coaches that, three are here, others may join our meeting. We help people design their lives, but our circumstances might be about to change in the next few years, and we're going to have to design around that. So it's kind of fun for us to talk about the possibilities, and I know we'll be able to help them on our platform and with our coaching should this all transpire. So we're headed for exciting times.
I mean, I
So,
hope so. I can't
mhm.
wait for aliens to like openly land and
Yeah.
just be everywhere. I'm kind of bored of humanity, to be honest. I need some fresh blood. I need some new culture, some new ideas, some new. That's how I feel.
Oh,
And
Yeah,
good,
Maddie,
good.
you mentioned Bashar. I like Bashar a lot. So
yeah.
Mhm.
I heard him say the same thing, like within the next 5 years. I also saw one video where he said by the beginning of 2027, there will at least be, what's up, Jonathan? There will at least be some type of event, probably, but it might not be
Mhm.
like a full immersion.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
the
Like,
problem is that the timelines shift and change so much. It's
right, right.
it's
Mhm.
almost impossible to say what's going to happen next week, even for the
Mhm.
most
Exactly.
adept psychic.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
We're at that time where things just aren't predictable anymore.
Mhm. That's why it's
Yes.
perfect to participate with the Life Design because we'll give you the tools to navigate all the change that's
And I
coming.
definitely think people are not going to be ready for all this stuff when it
Yeah.
comes out, especially if you have not been in that kind of area of being into
Exploring.
aliens or conspiracy stuff or that kind of stuff. What's up, Jonathan?
Yeah.
We're talking about aliens, man.
Aliens.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey,
I'm sorry.
Jonathan. Hey, Jonathan. Oh,
That's
So
good.
the
Jonathan,
Hey,
interesting thing
Mi
about extraterrestrials is that it
Myrna, just before I forget,
go
your
ahead,
your
Jonathan.
camera, your Myrna's camera is pointing to like the North
Yeah,
Pole.
she's doing that purposefully.
Might want to adjust
no,
it
no,
a
I
little.
wasn't doing it on
Was
purpose.
she
I
not?
can't
Oh.
see me. I can't see me. Yeah,
Oh
I can't
right.
see
That's
from my
why you seem
phone.
There we
I
go. There we go.
That's good. That's good.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
good.
great. Yeah, it
I'm
looks, yeah,
sorry.
that's
Thanks
way
for
better.
telling me, Jonathan. I can't see myself on the phone. I'm in Spokane. I'm in your time zone. So, Jonathan, I had to get up and do an 8 o'clock roundtable like you have to do all the time. So,
That's great.
so yeah,
It's
it's
looking
an
good this
open
morning.
table discussion, and we are talking about whatever's on our mind. I wanted to talk about cargo cults, but Jonathan, tell
Oh
us
Yeah.
where
no,
you're.
Matthew was up to something. After
Yes,
Huh.
yes.
I'll.
After, then you'll tell us where you are and what you do. Okay, Matthew, go for it.
Well, you know, this is one of my favorite topics, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
yes,
Anybody
Same.
who knows me close will know this
Same.
is, and
yes.
I have personal relationships with beings from other dimensions and realms. You know,
Love it.
they've come up to me in the street. I had the ships land, and the ships following me around all the time. They're always over my house. And
Nice.
but the interesting thing about extraterrestrials and is that when something as narrative changing as that comes about. Now it's, you know, we really have to understand that it's not going to be, hello everybody, we're here, you're saved. Okay, that is not how this is going to work out at all.
Yeah.
Okay, and actually it's quite the opposite of that. You are going to see more division than you've ever seen in the humanity, you know, prior to something like that. You've seen this, how humans can pick apart something wonderful and turn it into war. You know, it's just it's innate in the human race to argue about everything
Yes.
right now, and this will be one of those subject matters where everybody's going to have a different opinion on it. And there's also, you know, I've even been with, how can I say this now? I've been with people who are extremely learned spiritually, who are completely open to this kind of subject matter, who have had ships fly right next to them while I'm with them and still try to explain it away because
Yeah.
it's so reality shifting that it
Yeah.
does
Yes.
something to the psyche. It's not as easy to accept as you think it's going to be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, much of the work is going to be, you know, interior work, psychological work. And, you know, I'm a follower of Cliff High, and he checks words in like 20 languages around the world. He scrapes the web. And then he wrote a program that an alien told him how to do, by the way.
That's a racist
And
word, but I have to say that that's a racist word. Let's say
oh, I'm sorry, an
let's say
off-worlder.
yeah.
An off-worlder
Yeah.
told him, you know, you can use your programming code and filter the language and get a sense about where humanity's kind of headed because they're talking about it. They just don't realize they're all talking about it.
Yeah.
And so, but he was saying one of the disorienting things that's going to happen is people's understanding currently of religion. And so a lot of the religious doctrine that gives you comfort, helps you orient in the world, helps you know you're living a life of virtue or you're a good person because you're following the tenets of a religion. Most of the religions don't have a place for extraterrestrial life forms to interact with us. It's like, where do you put that? And so that'll be part of the strife is just reorienting. But wait a minute, this isn't in any of the books that I understand how we're in a universe that's different. It's a little bit like Galileo trying to explain, no, the sun doesn't revolve around us. We revolve around the sun. That was the same kind of shattering. You can't, no, that's not what this is. It's going to be a lot for people to take in, I think.
But the thing is, with the religious side of it, there is so much in the religious texts that do confirm it. They've just been mistranslated.
I see.
Um,
Okay. We'll have
you
a new
know, and
lens. We'll have a new lens
yeah.
to,
But
yeah. Okay.
also, oh, what was I going to say? Just had a complete brain fart moment. Also, people through media, through you know, science fiction movies, novels, and so forth, people don't seem to realize the esoteric nature of the majority of the beings out there in the universe. You know, it's that there's not that many that are so far removed from the true workings and natures of the universe as our own species on this planet at the moment. Because what we call spirituality or esoterics would be called physics to many of
Yes.
these kind of beings. It's just the
Yes.
way shit works.
Yes.
You know, and we have all of these fancy names for it, the mysteries, the this, the that. But that's because it's knowledge that's been withheld from us. And so many of these beings, they live and breathe this kind of knowledge. They live and breathe this kind of wisdom. And it's a part of who they are, it's a part of their cultures. And so, interestingly enough, I feel that they could complement the religions quite well. The only difficulty, obviously, is that you see the kind of adversity that we have between religions and cultures on Earth here. You know, it's going to be, there's going to be a lot of opposition towards them. And there's going to be a lot of people who will they won't have it. It doesn't matter how much good something or somebody does, that the religious doctrine is so ingrained in them that this is the devil, and there's nothing you can say or do that's going to convince me otherwise.
Yeah.
Jonathan, do you want to introduce yourself first, and then Brian, ask your question?
And Zian's coming to the table as well.
Yeah, Zian, what's
Oh,
up?
great. Hi, Zian.
Hi.
Okay.
So-
Jonathan, say hello. We'll let Zian say hello, and then Brian, you'll ask your question.
It's a cold morning, Sian. You have a hoodie on and then
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
gloves.
no, it got cold in California. Like, I mean, it started gradually getting cold, but it got cold like about, I think, last night or the night before.
No, I feel you. If it wasn't because I'm like under shelter, it will be extremely cold, man. Well, I know how it gets. Yeah, so I am in California actually. I'm a alchemical hypnotherapist for the ones that do not know, and I am here joining this open conversation. Which you guys, when I joined, you were talking about beings from
Extraterrestrials.
beings from outer air.
Yes. Yes.
Well, that's one of the things. Sometimes I believe, everything has like microbes, life, and it travels far, far away, and then it develops. If it has everything that has the right environment, something is going to grow. So, have you ever had the thought of like, what if I fart, and then this fart, the gas goes up so far into the astrosphere, and then ends up somewhere in another galaxy, and then it produces. So, for some kind of life, I might be God. Who knows? But that's a different story.
You could actually wipe out an entire species with a fart.
Yeah.
That's the actual truth.
Yeah.
You will have to be open-minded to understand that one. But that's it. So of course, I don't know about having like an actual encounter. I cannot claim that. I'm pretty sure I have had without knowing. I'm pretty sure someone there on Tinder slipped one time, and without me knowing, because they were like, "No, if I tell him, he's going to freak out. So let's just pretend." But I'm pretty sure that has happened. Some kind of interaction.
They're on our movie screens. They're in our politics. They're in our music.
Somewhere. Who knows? For all I know, I might be one. You never know. That's the whole point.
Yeah, we might all be from someplace else and just having a human experience here for a
we're
time.
from Earth.
Yeah, are we?
I can't subscribe to that.
Okay,
but
good.
it is definitely a great topic to at least provoke some kind of like different kind of thought process to anyone. It challenge your beliefs for sure, regardless you have seen them or not, or you believe in them or not. It just makes you be more open-minded, and that's great. So I actually like it.
So that's an interesting topic actually, because I was hoping that someone would bring that up, because in my experience, I began it was around about 2012 when I first began to get communication from them, although they had been in my life all my life in some capacity. They still, to this day, there have been times where they're around, but they don't come too close. But in 2012, they began to speak to me, and it wasn't until 2014 when they actually arrived. And I was saying to them all the time, why don't you come and see me? Why don't you come and see me? Why don't you come and see me? Why are you just a voice in my head? And they kept, they couldn't explain to me, because I couldn't understand the physics at that point to be able to understand why they couldn't just do what I was asking of them, because I was naive. And so there was a few occasions where they would come while I'm asleep, and they would take me, and there were a few negatives that came and took me in my sleep. And then there was one time, well, they began to fly the ships over the house, and then that was a nightly occurrence where the ships would come closer and closer and closer. And then one evening they came and they landed, and they gave, they're so clever. You see, this is the thing people don't understand about these types of beings is that they can, one of them can be in the room with you and you wouldn't even know it. As in, like, they could even make sure that you were sat there in a semi-conscious state, where you were there in the room almost in a dream, and they were there, you could see them, but you, for some reason, you're not paying any attention to them. It's very strange and abstract. It's hard to explain to anybody. But what they did with me was they landed in the field behind the trees of my house, and they began to flash their lights to let me know that they were behind these trees. So it was my choice whether to walk around or not. Now, going from being a voice in my mind of someone that I've built a relationship with over 2 years, it was a 2 year long relationship I built up with this particular fella. He was from the Pleiades system, and and then he landed, and I'd been asking him to land all this time, but the reality of the situation did something inside me where it almost broke me. It was like it was so reality altering that I almost had a heart attack. I was getting palpitations, my skin went funny, all the sweat started, the beads of sweat, and I remember I began to panic, and my dog was barking, and there was another young man with me, and he said to me, he used to call me Pops, Pops, I'm scared. And, and then all of a sudden we all just kind of went like that, where these guys took control over us and said, right, calm down, and then we went up. We went up onto the ships and that, but they had to put us in almost like a drunken state, so that we could be there. Because when you're in a collective like that, in a part of a collective consciousness, because even the ships, when they have their certain communities, this particular galactic community that I work with, there's many different names for them. There are names that are thrown around, but they're not real. I'm almost tempted to say it, but I won't. This particular group, they are connected through technology, but also through their own what's the word again?
Telepathic.
Telepathic.
Intuition,
Yeah.
telepathic.
Because we don't actually have telepathy. We have clairaudience, clairvoyance, clair this, clair that. Real telepathy, you are intertwined with another being. And if I was on the ship and I checked out a girl's ass and then I got embarrassed about it, or I farted, or I did something and I got embarrassed about it, and I'm completely connected to the whole collective, it damages all their psyche, because they don't experience the type of emotions and the type of feelings and sensations that we do. So embarrassment, just simple embarrassment, something that human beings can experience every day, could damage the entire collective in that capacity. And if you were to have an angry thought or a violent memory, that could do the greatest damage. So there's all these different kind of dynamics going on. I don't want to hold the mic for too long, but I've had actual experience of being with these beings of all different types of descriptions. And so there are mechanics involved in this that many people just you can't predict. So how do you know go ahead?
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. I mean, your experience is so unique and valuable to hear about. Zian, I wanted you to step in and introduce yourself, and then if you want to contribute to this, tell us where you are, what you do, or we can just go around robin and chat.
I'm Zian Harrington, and I am a mental wellness coach. I also wanted to add to Jonathan bringing up the cold weather. I've been dehydrated for about the past week now, and I found out it's because seasonal weather changes can actually cause dehydration. I didn't know that. That has never happened to me. This is the first winter that's actually happened.
Let me ask you a question. How many coconut water per day have you drank since that started?
None. Zero.
There you go. See, this is free consultation, man.
So top up your coconut water practice.
Definitely.
I got you.
So yeah, thank you, Jonathan. So we're talking about aliens and their existence. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well,
Yes.
yeah, our open discussion took us there. Do you have thoughts about it?
So Maddie wanted to talk about aliens, so I blame him. Of course, I wanted to talk about it too, but
well, me too. I want to talk about cargo cults. So Zian, do you have thoughts before we go around more, or you want to say, you guys keep going?
No, I mean, yeah, I do have some thoughts, not as extensive as what Maddie has to say.
Nobody is extensive as Maddie.
Yeah. It was quite obvious. I do believe that there are species outside of humans that exist. I don't have like direct experience interacting with them. And I've always wondered myself how alien abductions work? You know, like, are people lying, or like, is it a dream state that they actually believe is real, or is it real? And I'm not judging. I just don't understand. My mind doesn't understand how that stuff works.
Yeah.
There's a principle that explains why. It's like something principle. I don't know the name of it, but it explains why most humans have not encountered aliens directly. And it explains how they have the technology. There's like 3 or 4 theories, but one of them is because they have the technology to cloak themselves and come here without revealing their presence. But I understand that there are beings outside of us that are way more evolved than us. The Pleiades, as Maddie mentioned, are one of them. The Alpha Draconians, the Anunnaki, and plenty others. The Arcturians, I believe. I think that's how you pronounce it. Yeah. So that's the level of familiarity I have with life outside of humans.
So let me give a description of the situation that we're in. So look at it like this, because everybody seems to have this opinion like that humans are the ones that need to be proved to, or we're the ones that you know that their existence is only validated when we believe them. So
it's
forth.
the Galileo
this is how everybody kind of says, you know, but the truth is this: if you imagine the whole universe is teeming with life, the whole universe. From the moment that you leave the atmosphere of the Earth, you will see the evidence of it instantly, everywhere. Just teeming with life, just like when you move a rock and all the bugs come crawling and you know, it's the same kind of principle. And so what you have here is a planet in a very auspicious area of space with a very auspicious purpose, with a whole bunch of humans on there with their own purpose. If we just forget about the awakening for the time being, and all of this hubbub and life is going on around us, except for the beings on this planet who are being convinced that they're the only ones in space. That in the entire universe, they're the only ones who just happen to come into existence. And so actually we're the fools, you know, because they're here all along. You know, they like I said, they're in our media. Some of our most cherished and loved actors in our movies in Hollywood are not from this world. You know, they're in the music industry. They're everywhere, and they've been here since time began. Because the truth is that we're not just this one species locked to a planet that's separate from everybody. People are traveling through dimensional existence and space, and all the time. You know, it's a constant system of commerce, and our DNA is quite valuable. And this is one of the things that these abductions are about. And where it comes to the abduction processes themselves, abductions, you could say contact, but abduction would be more negative, because that, you know, obviously it's like, right, we're going to come and grab you and just do whatever we please. And, you know, against your free will. That is an abduction, right? And those kind of experiences, they come down to your DNA. It all comes down to DNA. What DNA you have, what species you're related to, what species you've been in the past, what's in your heritage, and that also decides whether the interactions that you get are positive or negative. And like myself, mine were predominantly positive, but because I was over enthusiastic at bringing contact forward, I attracted many negatives.
Before I forget, because I forget to get my whiteboard and show you, like, I completely forgot. But there's 2 points that I wanted. There's
go for it.
like wrap up. There's 2 wrap up points to Matthew's. One of them, and the most important one, is the telepathy or telepathy, or however you say it in English. I kind of disagree that we do not have telepathy, Matthew, because, okay, let me put it this way. When you communicate with them, it's not through email. Or no, when I have, and let me tell you, let me tell you my perspective. I do believe that we are, not everyone, but if you develop your not your five senses, because we have obviously the sensory five senses, but there are so many senses that we get to develop, and that's up to us. So the way I see it, we have unlimited potential to those. And the best ideas that I have ever had in my life, they have come from some source that is definitely not my brain, because what I learned in school, in a public school in the ghetto, was bullshit. So definitely those ideas came from somewhere like higher. So
Which
it
is
is,
spirit.
and then spirit can be, I remember being opening to, hey, if the universe is all interconnected anyways, why do I have to limit myself to connect to the guy next to me? Why can I just connect with someone that will like me from another galaxy that is actually extremely smart, and he can send me, or she or whatever can send me this kind of thought process so that I'm going to make it like better in this life. So it's like kind of interesting. Also, octopus. What about octopus, Matthew?
Yes.
I believe
Yes.
they're fucking aliens. Okay, nobody's going to prove me
Yeah,
wrong
they
with that
are
one,
wild.
because they change colors. I have seen them with my own eyes. I have seen them like do crazy shit, and they are just fucking alien. Okay.
So
Yeah.
every species that we have here on Earth, there's another type species. Although, you know, if you came across a humanoid that was slightly like a dog and you called them a dog being, they would be very offended by that. But the octopi they don't object to that, because it describes how many limbs that they have. And the octopi that are out there are incredibly advanced beings, have incredibly complex sexual behavior as well.
Mm.
Yeah.
Nice.
Good to know, Matthew. Good to know.
Yeah. I could talk about this all day long. I really could.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about the coaching perspective on all of this, because
Mhm.
you know, when your narrative or your paradigm is blown up, it can be really create dysfunction in your life, and we
Yes.
want to help people refine their center. So we encourage people to practice mindfulness or meditation, or whatever sort of centering navigation they can be self-reliant with. But if you think about how people who have become very good at things in their life, they don't like being a new learner. You know, they don't like being naive in a certain area because they've become an expert, or they become comfortable with what they understand. And so when you change your understanding of the world you live in, literally the world you live in,
Mhm.
physics is going to change,
Yes.
because their physics, I mean, ours is rudimentary, like we might as well be pounding, you know, rocks and stones into dirt compared to extraterrestrial physics. And so
Yes.
as we have these new understandings that we're backwards and we're wrong, and we misunderstood some of our religious, you know, orientation, that can be very disorienting. And finding your center, whether you're working with a coach or a therapist or other like-minded people who say, let's figure this out, get get people around you who are like, roll up your sleeves and, well, all of this changed, what do we do about it now? Instead of responding with fear or anger or hatred, you know, we have a choice in how we respond to things. And
Mm.
this is going to be the most difficult time for humans, maybe in 25,000 years. So
Well,
having
yeah.
some advanced planning about how to reorient and reorient again and reorient a third time while these things unfold for us, you know, it's going to be an ongoing learning for the whole planet at the
It
same
is going to
time.
be continuous and
Yeah.
continuous upkeep. And
Mhm.
to piggyback off what you said and what Jonathan said there, you know,
Mhm.
we weren't, the best way to look at it is we were misled. Now that's going to
Yes.
really allow us to forgive ourselves in that process, is that
Yes.
we didn't just get
Yes.
it wrong, we were misled intentionally. And
Mhm.
you know, very cleverly as well. And what Jonathan was saying about you know being able to connect to another consciousness somewhere, to download some form of information or to make something better and to have that kind of thing. Now, what separates us from these experiences, the reason that not everybody has these experiences, is because one of the rules of the universe is that you have to be responsible enough to have an experience. That's how you earn experience, is through responsibility. This is why these beings don't just come down here and say, hey, you guys, you need to kick these people off of your planet and start doing things properly. Is because that we're
Mhm.
not responsible enough for that. Last time
Mhm.
they tried
Mhm.
that, it destroyed everything. You know,
You don't give toddlers a loaded gun. You don't give toddlers a loaded gun, right?
no, and you know, it's so from what you were saying there, it's each of our responsibility. And we're taking extraterrestrials as just one example, but any of these grander, broader subject matters that describe what we see in our potential future, you know, it all comes down to personal responsibility. How do you develop your responsibility? How do you develop yourself, your own awareness, your own consciousness, and heal? And that's how you show your responsibility, and then you're ready for these grander experiences.
You know, Brian, you had a conversation with someone, I don't know how much of this you want to share, that we're sort of been put deliberately behind a firewall. We kind of are operating in a closed system, and we don't understand under the dome, in the bubble, behind the firewall, however you want to speak about it, that we don't have contact with things, and that has been a deliberate exercise by others. And so I don't know, Brian, if you want to speak to that, but I thought the
Yeah.
firewall was a good one.
Okay. I can talk about that. I kind of have some brain fog going on right now, so it's a little bit hard for me to articulate. I think I've been getting too much MSG from the soup here. I've been eating tons of like the beef, but yeah. So I mean, the closest thing I've had, I guess, to an alien experience is Maddie knows about this. I met I met one guy when I was in Thailand who just told me he was an alien. Very seriously. Like, and he was kind of speaking to me like almost like I was on the opposite team, almost like a little bit like he's kind of like, we've been trying to fuck you up, but you're like a worthy opponent. Like that's kind of like how he was talking to me. And he was like, you guys, he was kind of saying like he was talking about how there's already smart dust in the drinks that we drink. Like they already have nanites in human bodies, but we don't even understand that. And that's going to eventually link up to like the frequencies from the 5G and AI and who knows what else. And that's going to be like internal mind control. Like, you know, he was like saying basically, you guys are firewalled. Like we already have technology inside you that blocks you from higher states of consciousness, and you guys just don't realize it. Like that's what he was saying. And I mean, you don't have to believe all this, but we were at like a little bar pool one time, and he was talking to someone, and he'd be like, that guy has no idea what just happened to him. Like he doesn't realize this was like the greatest opportunity of his life. Like he just met an alien, but he doesn't know that. Like so I mean, I've met some people like that, and I met other people that kind of seemed to be in the same category there when I was in Thailand, although they didn't come out and say that. What's up?
I was going to say your pool coach talked with you inside your head sometimes.
No, I wouldn't say that, but it wouldn't surprise me if he was actually an alien, because he was just on a completely different level in about 100 different ways, and he was very psychic.
Yeah. I follow some remote viewers, and this one remote viewer stopped remote viewing when an alien, she said, came up on her in downtown Atlanta. And she was startled meeting him on the street. He revealed himself for a moment. He cloaked his actual appearance. And she said, don't you come up on me here in downtown Atlanta. I'm tired of this. Like, you know, she kept having her reality shook, and she was tired of being shook. So she semi-retired from remote viewing for about 6 months. She's
Yeah,
like,
that's
shut it
like
off. I need to regather myself.
That's
all
because
part of
that's because
yeah.
again, we don't understand the reality mechanics that we're talking about here. If you're a remote viewer and you go and peer into somebody else's reality,
Wait.
you are now
What is a remote viewer? Like
it's somebody
remote.
who uses psychic awareness to look into different timelines.
Okay, got it.
So if you are remote viewing another being's reality, and that being has psychic awareness, which most of these do, then you are becoming what's known as an entangled observer. So there are many different ways to observe different realities and technologies, entangled or unentangled. When you intentionally do it like that, you'll become an entangled observer, which means you're right there in the Akashic moment. Now, you know, that's a free will choice that you've made there, right? So if you're going to start peering into people's realities, like if somebody's going to keep peering into my reality, you can bet your bottom to end up going into their reality and appearing and saying, what now, motherfucker?
Yeah.
You can't just do that. you know. And so this is where humans, again, it's this sense of entitlement that humans seem to think that they have, just to go around and just to mess with everybody's business. And yet when it comes back on you, then you're going to start screaming and crying about the whole thing.
I blame Darwin.
One of the things
I blame Darwin.
before I forget, Myrna, you have a great perspective because you seem like you are actually, you know stuff, but you are actually on the path of you're open-minded enough to keep learning. So that's great. That is like the whole vibe of this.
You know, I appreciate that. I wanted to mention the concept of a cargo cult. And I think that as our reality, our paradigms keep shifting, we don't know this, but we're walking in sand and it's going to shift under our feet for like the next 10 years. So if you don't navigate change well, work with us and learn how and start today because these changes are going to come fast and furious and they are accelerating. They are not going to slow down. But the idea of a cargo cult, go ahead.
I was going to say the reason why I am here is not because of luck, or it probably luck some percentage, because I could have probably died in India a couple times, but I'm still here. And the reason that I am here is because I prepared myself like 10 years ago. I was like, I have to become some kind of like different kind of human, and that's how I ended up here. And it takes me to the point of like Brian was talking about like 5G and this stuff. Just to finish that before I forget, I used to work for a cell phone company which uses 5G technology. One time, I remember thinking, in my experience, because I'm very sensitive to energy, I was like, yeah, I like 5G because of course it provides me service whenever there's no service some places. So of course it's useful. But I was like, okay, but whenever I am close to a tower, it's too, I am too, it's like, it's like my, it's exactly, it's like my thoughts, I have to like extremely like really concentrate on myself. So one day, one of the engineers came to the store and he opened his laptop, and then I see on every tower there was like these icons that look like fucking like get away from here, like dead. So then I asked him like, what the fuck does that mean? And then he goes, well, in these radios it is actually dangerous if you're close to it from like this amount of like feet or meters around it. He was like, just do not go that close. I was like, nah, if you're telling me that close, that means I have to multiply times like 3, man. So then I learned my lesson.
So the idea is that you could lower human consciousness systematically through the use of frequencies. So if you install towers all over the place, you can keep everyone in a lower state where they don't realize certain things, where it's easier to keep them ignorant, where they don't start to experience higher, more profound states of consciousness. And I don't want to freak people out, but
what that person was talking about in that bar, now he was absolutely not an extraterrestrial. What he was talking about was some of the reptilian technology, which is not functioning in our reality anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you know, this is the thing is, how can I say this simply? There's a greater plan here. There's a greater purpose for all of this.
Yes,
and
in the awakening.
Exactly, there's a greater purpose for all of this, and yes, some of this stuff can be around, but we jump and skip timelines. This is some more of the more denser subject matter that's a bit difficult to understand and takes a lot of explanation. Again, it's more stuff that we're going to have to figure out as the awakening becomes more and more and more. But some of these technologies like 5G, what a fart in the wind that was. You know, there were so many people were so absolutely terrified of that. It came, we use 5G, everybody's still alive. Okay, you know.
Oh no, but the point with 5G, which I was working for this company, which I don't anymore.
It's fear harvesting.
It does has is like a positive because of it we are here interconnected. So there is a positive, but let's not forget that if you're not conscious of the opposite, which is like, for example, when I'm driving on the highway and then I pass through a tower, and then it can mess if you're not conscious enough. It can make an impact in a way that you might not be prepared to fight against, which is leads me to what I wanted to talk about. Is like in my experience, I feel like we are at war, but nobody gives a fuck because there's no bombs exploding. And whenever I walk outside, whenever I look at my Instagram feed, YouTube advertising, there's like bombarding because it takes your awareness away from what you actually should be experiencing, which is actually a pleasant life. Like you could be taking a walk in the park. There's no bombs there. But the reality is that if you open your screen on your cell phone, something is going to pop up. Like, oh my God, something did something, like somebody shot 15 people in Arkansas. And I'm like, why in the fuck do I have to know that somebody killed 15 people in Arkansas when I live in California? And I am having such a great day walking in the park. It is quite strange.
Well, I think it brings us back to choice, right? You choose to turn off the fear porn, right? You choose to monitor your feed. And, you know, I love Zian's perspective, and I want to bring this forward with this idea of cargo cult, that, you know, they have a saying that those who want to know will know. You know, those who want to wake up, those who want to engage in these changes while they're happening rather than have them hit you like a brick over the head every time they happen. But some people would not want to know. And as Zian would say, and that's okay. You know, people are choosing their journeys. Some of them will choose to stay asleep. Some of them will choose to react in a riot because they're so afraid, they're so fearful, they don't know what's going on, and they participate in the melee to get out their angry energy. People are going to be making lots of different choices. And Maddie likes to say, don't step on their journey, like they're making their choices. So acknowledging that some people are going to freak out and they have that opportunity to choose freaking out. Other people are going to choose to figure it out or to respond well to the changes that are happening. And we can support that too. So the idea of a cargo cult, and then I'll get off of this soapbox about that, is they talk about when the Spaniards came and met the Incas and the Mayans, right? The Spaniards came to the New World. And they looked like aliens because their faces were covered with hair and they took horses off their ships. But the local population didn't know what a ship was. They hadn't built any ships. And they see these strange beings and these strange animals come off this strange vehicle. And they thought they were gods because what else would they think? You know, they don't know what this is. It's very alien to them. And so the cargo cult idea is this population now learns how to work with horses, learns about rum or something, all these things that came off the ship that they had no experience with. Then the ships leave. Then the local population tries to figure out how to get the ships to come back and give them these things. So they create ceremonies and they do rituals and they do dances on the beach to bring the ships back. You know, there's no concept of these are humans like you, and they just came from a different place and they brought different stuff. There's no paradigm to understand. So they made them gods. And that we are at risk of some of that with some of the cargo cults that might forward around, well, these Pleiadians gave us this technology we didn't have before. And the Pleiadians are like, it's a screwdriver. What are you excited about?
Yes.
But for us, we haven't seen it. Like, oh, wow, it's a horse. We've never seen one. So the idea of a cargo cult is a bad way to adapt to some of the changes that are coming, to make these changes like as if they were from gods, or they're granting us spectacular gifts, to just be mindful of, they may be sharing their different culture, their different experience, but you're a sovereign being in your soul that you're in charge of inside your body in this human experience. You're a sovereign being, and to keep starting there and not to join a cargo cult as these things happen. Okay, I got my thought out. Thank you.
Which is the fine line that these beings are walking. I mean, we're looking at this from the perspective of humanity. Flip the frequency and look at it from the perspective of the visitors. Look at it from those who are coming. They know we're a population on the planet that's at a very risky time in their development. You know, it could go one way or the other way. There are some other bits, I don't know whether we have time to talk about it, you know, but there have been other times and other timelines, other paradoxes where they tried to intervene and it created absolute universal destruction. And it's a very, very fine line that these guys are walking on. So it comes down to responsibility. It's like you know, even if you were, even if our own governments were to begin to disclose some of the advanced technology that they've been hiding forever, you know, how would it be used? How do you do that? How would you instantly release a
They may
water-powered
be,
car to the population and suddenly make the entire petro industry and all of the petrodollar irrelevant? Would that
yeah.
free humanity, or would it cause the biggest war you've ever seen in your life? It's just very difficult to navigate how these things are going to happen.
Yeah, 0 point energy. There's so many things that are going to change, and to maintain an open mind, but also maintain your own peace.
Yeah. I was going to say to the point at the end of the day what we are here for, and it's because each one of us has a particular talent, and if you combine all of them, let's say you're struggling with something, I can teach you how to improve some. I don't like the word fix because it sounds like you're fucking broken, and I don't believe that humans are broken. I like the word improve because I have improved myself. So if I can help someone in some area, Cian can help someone in other area, Matthew, Brian, yourself, Myrna. That's at the end of the day, the reality is that we create our own reality. We become what we think about. So at the end of the day, the reality is how much attention are you going to pay to yourself right now? And then all of a sudden, everything becomes peaceful and beautiful. And I am here having a great experience, and it's amazing. If you want to learn how to do that, you can join alivedesign.org.
Nice.
Yeah,
And
Jonathan.
I think that's that kind of actually what you're saying, Jonathan, sort of touches on ET contact. You could get into the idea of vibrational physics, which is that's one of the ideas, which is that like when if a species is not on the same vibration as another species, they're sort of not allowed to meet. It's like a vibrational mismatch. If the vibration is too skewed, it like doesn't, it just doesn't work. Like it's either just not allowed, or if it would occur, it would actually be like really damaging, and like the lower beings would not be able to handle it.
This is a joke,
So,
but it will represent what we're talking about. It will be like a rhinoceros trying to fuck a monkey. It doesn't work, you know.
there you go.
Oh, it can work.
But
Okay, let's not go there. Okay.
This is going to be a part of the awakening. You see, this is some of the more comical side of things.
See, now
We have soul family reunification, and just as Brian was talking about there are so many different types of beings, but we still have soul family relations, and we're going to find certain different types of species that where their parts may not fit together properly, who have love, and there's a grander process there.
See, now we know why this
I'm gonna take
this
your word
is
for it, Maddie.
now we know why Maddie's into aliens. He's into, you know, the freaky alien stuff.
The really cute aliens, the really cute aliens.
Yeah,
He's got an alien.
oh, they're very
fetish.
wary of me. They're very wary of me.
Look out, here comes Maddie.
That's right, they do. Yeah. Oh, here he comes.
No,
Okay,
but
Ian,
I also want to say, I think we have to recognize this is a historic day because Jonathan invented the butter fart effect. Like the butterfly effect.
That's
But, you
right.
know.
For those methane planets, he's making a small contribution on your behalf. You breathe methane, I'm helping you out here. Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
yeah.
gosh.
So you were gonna
I was just gonna say, Zian, have we lost you entirely, or?
No. I actually had my own topic that I'd like to bring into this as quickly as possible without going over the time limit for what we've allotted. And
Sure.
Before that, I want to touch back quickly on telepathy very quickly, and then I have two questions for Maddie. So I'm in between what Jonathan has to say concerning telepathy and what Maddie has to say. We don't have true telepathy. We're not that closely interlinked. We most humans, most humans don't have telepathy, and if they do, it's quite possibly the lowest form of telepathy that can be manifested, or maybe a slightly more intermediate level, but it's not true telepathy like what Maddie's talking about, how other species outside of humans can connect and communicate. So I just wanted to say that. And then Maddie, I have two questions for you. Do you believe in flat Earth?
No.
Okay. So then okay, so my next question is, you said you mentioned how some of our most beloved celebrities and famous actors are, and musicians are, they themselves aliens. Is that, does that have anything to do with why there have been pictures on social media circulating of certain stars like Will Smith, people of equal notoriety, who have their photos, their current photos of themselves today are shown alongside photos of people who look just like them 100 years ago. Does that correlate to what you're saying about how they've been around for hundreds of years?
Yeah. Well, not that particular example. I'm not sure what's actually going on there. I'm not sure whether that's time travel, or I don't really know what's going on in that scenario. But you wouldn't know, and they're not going to show it off, and they're not going to explain it. Many of them, they'll come here on ships, and there are, our own governments under airports and other places will have extra terminals will be for off-worlders, because like I said to you, our society is just this masquerade that's happening alongside a larger galactic community, where our governments are actually already interacting with so many different species. They're coming, they're going, they have their own passport systems, they have their own airports, their own ships, their own arrivals, their own departures. And they will come here and they will show their passports and they will say, what are you doing here? I've come here to be an actor for the next 100 years or whatever, and because they just want to come here and be a part of this awakening that's happening on this planet. They want to be here and they want to make a difference.
Okay.
But
so it's kind of like Men in Black then.
Yeah, Men in Black.
Yeah, it's very much like that.
Okay, all right.
We're living in a Star Trek episode, and the Prime Directive is coming undone. I don't know what's happening.
And with regards to telepathy, you are completely right there, Zian. Is that true telepathy comes from unity consciousness, and that's when an entire species becomes responsible enough that they can be unified. And then you have a unity consciousness, and then you develop true telepathy. And that can be shared amongst other unity consciousness species. It can also be technologically replicated. But let's say if because Earth is a disunity species, we are not unified. True unity consciousness will be one of the much later elements of the awakening, once we've gone through all of the other pieces and parts of it. Because let's say right now we were a truly telepathic species. Every single bomb that drops on Gaza, every single starving child, every person that's raped or robbed, we would feel all of it.
Yeah.
Each and every one of us, we would be utterly destroyed as a species. There's no way we would be able to be responsible enough to handle what that true telepathy is like. And that's just because we're using a word here to describe something. Again, it's the limitations of the English language.
Sure.
Yeah.
What most people are using is clairaudience, clairsentience, and those kind of psychic
We have
skills.
a lot of words to describe new concepts that are paradigm shifting. Our language is going to change, pretty much the way we understand how to operate in the world. All of those parts are going to change, and some of it fast, some of it slower, but learning to navigate change well and to be able to be centered in what's coming.
Well, you've heard me speak light language.
However,
you've
for
heard
the
me speak light language, right? That there's a million letter alphabet out there. We use 26 letters. There's
and
a million letters. Imagine what you could describe with a million letters.
Before I forget, let me assure you, based on my experience connecting to spirit, that pronouns are not coming from a higher source. Okay, that is a lower source. That is the lowest of the lowest. That does not come from a higher consciousness. That comes from from another kind of source.
There are more
creates-
than two genders, and
Yeah.
it is absolutely true that there are absolutely males being born in female bodies and females being in male bodies, which is a negative spiritual contract. It's been going on for a very long time,
Mhm.
but there are
So-
more than two genders.
That's an interesting perspective.
Ian, I know you had a subject. Do we have time to do it today, or do you want to name the subject for the next roundtable, which is better?
No. I can do it really quickly. Kind of connects to what Maddie's saying, what we're talking about with telepathy. I've noticed that, and you might be a little surprised to hear this from me, being a mental wellness coach. But I've been able to see that why there's so much dissonance and disharmony between humans, and that's because we're not treating each other like we're humans for the most part. We're not unified, and that's why we don't have telepathy. We're so divided through our labels and our constructs and our ideation and beliefs and preferences and standards and all, our choices and the way we choose to identify with things and see them, and how we experience things. We're very divided, and we don't, when someone breaks that mold of what we perceive to be as intelligence or morality, then we don't treat them as human. I mean, think of it this way. Imagine a girl or a woman being so emotionally repressed that she puts a guy in the friend zone because he dared to treat her like a human being instead of projecting his lust on her and flirting with her, which she uses as a behavioral prerequisite to determine whether or not she feels this instantaneous spark towards him. And don't get me wrong, the nice guy thing, that is real. I'm not dismissing that. However, when women do that, when they say, well, when they decide to put a guy in the friend zone because he doesn't project his lust onto her, because he doesn't objectify her, that is emotional repression. And she is using him the same way a lot of guys will use her to fulfill needs within herself that she herself cannot fulfill for herself. And it goes beyond that. That's just male to female objectification. Like when guys do, and when guys do it to each other, and that's a foreign concept to a lot of people who might be watching this. Guys can objectify guys. When a guy says to another guy, well, when he implies that he's less of a man because of the way he conducts himself as a man, because another guy doesn't conform to his particular standards about masculinity and being a man. He's basically saying, you don't fit inside, you don't constrain your thoughts, feelings, actions, motives, and desires by placing stuffing your personality into a box and not fitting into this convenient mold that I define myself by in order to keep myself safe. And that makes you less of a man. When men treat each other with that level of disregard, when they project that belief onto each other, that is one man objectifying another man. And again, that's a foreign concept to a lot of people, because think about it. When we imply or suggest that you need to fit your personality into this convenient little mold that we define ourselves with, think about this. What is a box? It's an object. So when we tell each other, we suggest that we're less of that one man is less of a man because he doesn't fit inside this box, that is objectifying another human being. And we're not treating each other like human beings. Men are relegating other men to the position of simply being a man. And I don't want to be relegated to just being a man. I'm a human being first and a man second. And we're not treating each other with the respect and the level of humanity that we deserve to be treated with. That's the reason a lot of women are so jaded and disgusted with men. Why that's where radical feminism has manifested in its vehement force. What radical feminists are saying, what they're fundamentally communicating is they are tired of men not treating them as human beings. And I fully resonate with that. And also at the same time, here's where the dynamic can get a bit murky. You have so many women, not just radical feminists, but women from all sorts of demographics complaining and whining and crying about how they're not treated as equals. Well, okay, if you really believe yourself to be equal to men, then now you're responsible for defending and protecting yourself on the same level that a man is. So you need to stop running to men and expecting patriarchal authority figures to protect you, because now that you're equal to a man, that responsibility of protecting yourself falls on you. And that's not what a lot of women do. They don't want to hear that, because they will demand to be treated as an equal in the same right in relation to a man, but then they will run to another man when they want protection from a guy whose intentions are not in the right place. And that just doesn't work like that. You cannot ask to be treated like an equal in relation to men and then not be willing to protect yourself on the same level that a man can do.
I have a point before I forget, Cian. It goes for you what you're saying. I agree like 1,000,000% that I identify myself as a human being. However, let me tell you something to your point, which is probably going to give you a different perspective why other humans treat each other the way they treat each other. One time when I was younger, I did this. It was not homework. I just did it because I had to. I was thinking, I consider myself a human being, but a lot of humans around me, they say, no, we are animals. And I said, oh, fuck no, you are an animal. I am a human being. You can identify yourself as whatever whatever you like. So when I did this survey, I did this study myself with pen and paper. I walking around random humans. Overwhelmingly, more than 95% of humans, they believe they are animals. They have no idea what a fucking human being is. That is the whole point, to your point. So I can understand the passion when it comes to like, hey, let's treat each other like human beings. The point is that most humans consider themselves animal because that's what they learn in school, in kindergarten. They were taught that they were animals and that and that is why they behave the way they behave. But so after I made that study, I learned firsthand that most humans consider themselves animals. I was like, I am a human being. I can just be. If I really wanted to, I can just stay. And I proved my point when I went to live with the monks. I went to live in India with all these humans that consider themselves human beings, not animals, but human beings. And then you see the difference. So I understand where you're coming from, Cian, because yes, that's the reality of the outside world. Most humans behave like animals. And then that's what we are here for, to show them that they are not. They can go beyond that. They can still enjoy the animalist. Like, I can still enjoy a steak, but I can also be conscious of, do I want to kill a cow 3 times a day? Like, do I really have to? No, not really. Once a week, fine.
I think comparing the many of the types of personalities that you're talking about to animals is kind of offensive to animals, to be honest. I think they've got it a lot better figured out than many people that I encounter.
That's probably true. That's probably true.
Thanks, Ian.
So,
I'll just mention that
mm,
this is the
Myrna,
breakdown between.
your mic's quiet.
Oh, really?
It's muffled.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
there
better.
it is.
Thank you. The breakdown of the, male and female sort of whatever the natural or cultural bonding was and the fracturing of that is just the leading edge of the fracturing of everything we're about to see.
Yes.
And so,
It was
keeping
the
your
CIA.
keeping your own center straight, and then treating people as you want to be treated is pretty fundamentally simple, but this fracturing will just continue. So to have compassion, and I know, Zian, that you do, for women who've lost the thread of the narrative, or men who have also, well, I just need to get laid and I don't really care who or when. This is just, I'm going to get what I need and move on. So whatever it is, I mean, people are navigating the best they can, with meeting the needs that they think they have on their own journey. And it's going to get rougher before it gets smoother. So I think what you're identifying is part of this fracturing that's been happening culturally. And there are some cultures that have held together a little better. Brian's in one right now in Vietnam. But in the Western cultures, we've taken a beating. And I don't think the beating is over yet. So,
No.
but I appreciate you back there. And Brian, you wanted to say something.
so yeah, let me talk about what you were saying, Zan. I like your point. I'll kind of extend the logic a little bit further that you were presenting. So like you were saying, basically by people objectifying each other, it dehumanizes people.
Yeah.
So then to extend the logic of that, that would mean if we subjectify people, it would rehumanize them. Meaning if we start to see each other as subjective beings and realize that the human experience is subjective, that means people are going to be wrong sometimes, including ourselves. Like, to be human is to be highly subjective.
Exactly.
So if we, instead of objectifying people, if we subjectify people, meaning if we realize you're a largely subjective being just like me, then it's natural to like understand when someone ends up being misguided for a while, or like, because we just are owning it. We're just owning like we are subjective beings, and that is part of the human experience. And I think that kind of rehumanizes. So I would say
that was one of the techniques, Brian, I used during my change. When the ego comes in to muddy the waters of your peace, your inner peace, or just your perception of the world around you, and there are times where I may be just walking down the street and the ego comes to attack us in its many different ways. The ego and the shadow, sometimes they team up together. And whenever a judgment comes in, yeah, exactly, tag team off with each other. And sometimes, when the judgments come in, and I feel, even because sometimes we can run subtle judgment about other people around us and we don't even realize that we're doing it, passive aggressive judgment. And we can stay in that state and feel justified in it. Oh, well, I'm justified because this person does this, or that person has that, or this person has this. Just the fact that you're doing that alone should show you that the ego here is in control. But most of us haven't developed ourselves to that subtlety of mind. But one of my techniques that I used to have was I would look at a person when I feel the ego or the shadow coming in, trying to make me project onto another being, and I would imagine what it's like for them to cry, what it was like for them when they lost a love, when something bad happened to them, when I think about what victories they've had, what they've had to go through to be that person that they are today, their loves, their losses, their ups, their downs, their ins and outs. And when you see the bigger picture of somebody like that, it humanizes them, right? You rehumanize them with everything that it means to be a human being, whether they're a good person or not, whether they're successful or not, it doesn't matter. We all share this common set of experiences. And when we can stop looking at each other about specific subject matter and see a bigger picture, we see that at the end of the day, we all just see ourselves as the good guy in our narrative and our story. Even the bad guys that we would perceive as bad guys perceive themselves as the good guys.
Well, to shift from judgment to compassion is so helpful. And to be practicing that shift just randomly with strangers on the street or people you meet, that's a very powerful exercise. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, yeah. And I think about judgment. I mean, I've definitely judged people tons of times throughout my life. And I think I created a lot of suffering by doing that. And I think that's the key to realize is like, it's really not about whether your judgment of someone else is correct. To a large extent, it's about how does your judgment make you feel?
Yes, what's your inner processes?
Like, okay, so maybe my judgment is correct, but I'm frustrating and depressing myself by having all these judgments about other people. Like it's making me feel shitty.
Yeah.
So why would I do this? And honestly, they would feel better if I just accepted them as well. I'm making everybody feel shitty. Like, what is the fucking point of this? Even if it's right, it's actually still wrong because it's like it's wrong on the emotional level. It may be right on the level of like facts, but it's who cares? It's wrong on the emotional level. So
Yeah.
I think we have to understand like levels of reality and
responsibility.
yeah, and being responsible with that. And sometimes it doesn't matter that something's a fact. Like it's not right to like stay thinking about that and ruminate on that. That's even if it's true, that doesn't mean it's correct for me to focus on that.
No, and what are the conditions that led to that fact? You don't know that,
Yes,
but that
yes.
fact didn't just happen because, oh no, I've made a
Exactly.
bad choice and now here's this
Exactly.
fact. There are many other conditions that led to that fact, and if you could see all
There's
of that line of conditioning, then you would
exactly.
have compassion for that person. You would be neutral about that situation, not full of
There's
charge.
like there's infinite context that's missing from the judgment, right? You don't know someone's
Exactly.
entire history. It could even go back to past lives. I mean, you don't even know like
Exactly.
any of this stuff. Like it's
And that's why all of this comes down to personal responsibility. And as Zion was talking about, and those types of situations, and really, this is a chance for us to grow as human beings and to develop ourselves. And we can't expect other beings to be somewhere where they're not. You can't just jump from one state to the next. There's a whole set of processes that has to happen in order for that to take place, you know. And unfortunately, you know, as Zion was talking, it was making me laugh because I was thinking, gosh, now listen to, you know, how right he is. Now you imagine what was that like for the previous subject matter we were talking about, looking in, thinking, how the fuck do we even communicate to these people? Look at how they treat each other. You know,
yeah.
it's terrible. And what is, you know, where we talk about what was the word that you used now? What was the word you used for two people to be at the same level? Was it equality or something like that?
Yeah,
Or what was
equality.
equality? You know, and that the idea that we are all can be equal. That means that I can do exactly what Zian can do, and Zian can do exactly what I can do. Well, that's not what this is all about, is it? It's not about that. None of it. We're never going to achieve that state because we're individuals, and that's what makes us beautiful. And you know that's why we're here. And so it's not about everybody has to be able to do the same as other people. It's just about what are our strengths and what are our weaknesses. But so many people project onto one another. You know, they demand that you have this opinion. This is my opinion. This is how I think the world should be. You have to think the same way. And when we begin to go down those roads, that's when things start to get tricky. Because some people are just not going to get these concepts. Some people want to treat each other like shit.
It's not the
Yeah.
right place for them. It's not the right timing for them. In their journey, what's next for them is fear and anger and disruption and whatever those negative catalysts are, somehow that's serving them. And we get
Exactly.
to have a big plate full of
Yeah.
misery. That's next. They need a plate of misery. Go chow it down. That's not what we're doing, but you're entitled for what's next. Is your next meal, go get it. But and it's hard to have compassion for someone who's going to fall down and get up 6 more times and then be ready to talk about how do we stop this falling down thing. Okay, you ready? I can show you how. But if you needed to fall down 6 times in a row to get to a place that you want to stop falling down, okay, that was your journey. We have to have compassion for meeting people where they are, doing what they're doing, what they're ready for, what they're not ready for, including ourselves. So, what a great table discussion. I mean, I don't know
I
if you
think the compassion side of it, it is something that it's sometimes I overlook or something, but it's extremely important. The compassion, knowing that it's true. Everybody is on a different, first of all, different journeys, paths. Some of them, they don't even have a journey. They don't even want to have one. And it's important to just see them as they are, not as what we would like them to be. And that's what we can help them, because I have no expectations. I just know what I can do for you. And if you're ready, fine. If not, it is not your time. And then the time will come.
And we can't truly
So,
have compassion. We can't truly have any of these kind of things unless we can have that for ourselves first and foremost. That's what this journey is about. That's why each and every one of us has become a coach in our own frequency and in our own way, is because we've found the responsibility to develop ourselves through our own self-love and our own self-compassion. And then it's taken us to places where we want to share that and we want to help other people to do that. But, you know, it's impossible to be able to fix the world if you're not fixed.
that's true. And I want to jump in, kind of touch on what a lot of you were saying. I think it's really good to be able to transmute in real time. And this is something that Bashar kind of talks about, and we were talking about aliens. And Bashar is, you know, an alien channel. And you mentioned him earlier as well, Maddie, before we started recording. But yeah, like Bashar talks a lot about, like, okay, so what do you do when you experience something that you don't prefer? Like, this is not your preferred reality or your preferred experience. And he basically is arguing for you got to learn how to instantly shift your perspective to turn this into a positive. Like, there's a negative and a positive to every experience, so you got to learn how to shift it to the positive. So for example, like, if you're talking with someone and you don't enjoy the conversation, but you're stuck in it or something, instead of like ruminating on that, which is going to just let that negative emotion kind of just grow and fester until you get more and more frustrated, flip it, just instantly flip it in your head to where you realize, okay, this is a great opportunity for me to practice just being peaceful, being at ease with whatever someone needs to communicate to me. Turn it into a positive. When there's many ways you can do it, like Bashar even says, you can turn it into a positive by just recognizing, okay, this is helping me because it's showing me what I don't want. And that's giving me the power to put myself in different situations in the future that I do want, that are closer to the reality I do prefer. Like, this is giving me knowledge of like a compass of like how to guide myself. So now I know how to guide myself away from this. Somehow use every experience that happens to you as a positive. Find a way to reorient your perspective so that you're getting something good out of it. You're learning, you're growing, you're turning it into a positive. There's many different ways to flip it in your mind.
Yeah, it's
And I think,
infinite.
yeah. And I think learning how to do that is a good skill to have. So
And it's about the middle grey. We've been taught that there is black and white, right and wrong, up and down, left and right. We've been taught this. Whereas the truth is those are extremes. And we all know what happens with extremes, right? Everything is about the middle shades of grey in between. That's the true experience. That's what we're really here for. And that's not to say that we don't have these extreme scenarios going on. Everybody wants to have a happy life, right? But in order to be happy, like you say, you have to know what it feels like to be unhappy, because then you're presented with a choice. Well, this is a situation I don't prefer. So what are my choice points in order to make further choices to go towards that which I do prefer, which is to be happy? And each one of those may lead you to more unhappiness, but you're just navigating your way towards what makes you happy in the end. You know, but we get stuck sometimes as to victim mentality. Why is this happening to me? Why am I not able to do this? Why can't I do this? Well, it's because you are in every moment being offered the opportunity to make a different choice. It doesn't mean that you can instantly choose to be wealthy or you can instantly choose to be happy, but you can look at what's in your reality right now. What do I have, influence over in my reality, in my sphere of experience, where I can make a new choice to open up a new set of choice points to move towards that which I do prefer. It's quite basic. It's quite basic, you know, physics when you think about it.
Yeah, yeah. And I
It
mean,
is.
I also think like if you really analyze, if you think about your life before you were born, like if you imagine this, if someone would have asked you before you were born, when you were born on Earth, do you want to experience frustration? Do you want to experience sadness? You would have said yes because you want the experience.
Exactly.
Like why would you come here to not get the experience?
You won't grow.
You like if I'm gonna do the human thing, like I want to get the fucking experience. Like I mean,
That's exactly what it's like, Brian, before we
uh,
do come in.
yeah, I'm not gonna go there and then not get the experience. Like what the hell? Like you would have chosen that and said yes to that. So when you realize that, you can actually realize, oh wait, these are things I would have chosen. Like if I was given the choice, like I actually would have said, yes, I want that. So it is actually a gift to you. Like I don't think hardly anyone, if they were given the choice, would have said, no, I never want to experience frustration, never want to experience sadness, just everything goes my way until I die.
We call this
Because it's,
the picket life. We call this
yeah,
in spirituality, we call this the white picket fence life. And
yeah,
some beings do choose that purely because their soul just needs a fucking break.
yeah, I've heard that too. And I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sure there's a few who do, but that's not going to give you a rich emotional experience. It's not
No
going to
growth.
develop you. Like that's like just cruising in the like the easy lane, you know? So you can turn everything into a gift, right?
For sure. Hey guys, I'm going to have to shoot off, I'm afraid.
All right, Maddie.
Getting a little bit late here, but it was wonderful discussion, guys. And I
Yes.
love it when we have these open discussions where it can go anywhere as well, because everybody really gets to see what's going on in each other's minds. It's wonderful.
Nice.
Okay, thank you
Yes,
for
good talk.
having me, guys.
Right, Matthew.
Take care now.
See you,
All right.
Maddie.
Later, man.
Brian, we'll
So-
let people know how to get a hold of Maddie in
Yeah.
our,
Okay.
our notes. But yeah, do we want to have a final thought by everyone, or how to get a hold of everyone?
Yeah, final thoughts. Anybody?
Your Myrna, your mic is muffled again.
Okay, sorry, I'm in a random setup. Thank you. Yeah, I'm coping with technology. It's a gift, really, to cope with. I'm enjoying this gift. Okay, so Brian,
So-
how to get a hold of you?
Yeah, just through alifedesign.org, or my Instagram it's now Special K Coaching. And yeah, that's how to get a hold of me. You guys?
So you can get a hold. Again, I'm Zian Harrington. I'm a mental wellness coach. You can get a hold of me through the Life Designed community membership website. You can also reach me at heavenlywisdom.coaching@gmail.com, or any of my social media sites, TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook. All of my social media sites, with the exception of Facebook, are spelled Heavenly Wisdom _coaching. Heavenly Wisdom _coaching, and then just Facebook is Heavenly Wisdom Coaching. So that's where you can reach me.
Great. Jonathan?
I do have a final thought, because
Okay.
it is actually related to what Matthew was talking about when it comes to like happiness, and it comes. This one is for the men that are watching. It is great to be happy, but it is not going to be. It's not an easy process, and it's not our ultimate goal to just be happy all the time. It's if you think you always have to be happy to like be happy or like to have a great life, that is a very poor approach to life. So I don't know for woman perspective, but like for men, I know we are going to go through so many layers of struggle, and learning to enjoy the process, that's what actually makes us at the end of the day, quote unquote, happy, because we feel great about ourselves and the humans around us, and we treat them great and everything is pleasant. sometimes we're not actually like happy, but we feel great. So I think it's better to feel great than like be just like happy. And it's a hard process, so it's not an easy thing to just be like happy. For men, for women, they're so cute. For all I care, they can be happy all the time, and we will just take care of them. But we we have to like do stuff that sometimes but yeah, you can definitely find me on Jonathan R Coaching on Instagram, also alivedesign.org, and Jonathan R Coaching and TikTok. Now I am also on TikTok, as well as Jonathan R Coaching at gmail.com.
Very good. Oh, hey, I
Yes.
really everybody today. I'm going to do shout out for our first live coaching event that's free, and we'll make sure we put a registration link in the show notes today. So those of you who are watching who might want to get a free 10-minute session from one or more of our coaches, we have a live event where we're doing that on Thursday, October 24th. So we'll leave a registration link for this free coaching event in the show notes. You can talk with us one-on-one if that makes sense for you. And Brian, thanks for being our host today.
Yeah, no problem. All right, everybody.
All right. Thank you for your invitation and your time.
Yes. Thank you. See you guys all later. Good talk.
Thanks.